I've been getting a lot of questions from students on GDPR and legal compliance, so I want to make a comment about this. The first is that I'm not a lawyer or compliance expert, I am a marketing expert. So, to put this into perspective, when I was a marketing manager in Fortune 100, I wouldn't release any marketing asset essentially without it going through a paralegal. So, internal paralegal is going to review whether what you're releasing is compliant with the legislation that's out there. So, as companies get larger, they get more conservative and careful about legal risk, but that may not necessarily be the type of diligence that you would require if you're a startup. My second comment here is that GDPR specifically is not really about email regulation. It wasn't designed to kill cold emails or email marketing. It's really about personal data and specifically the processing of personal data. My third comment is that legal risk is only one type of risk. So whenever you're faced with the decision, particularly a crisis situation, and this is something that you'll learn in business school, is that you need to weigh different risks. And sometimes the legal risk is not the biggest risk. The biggest risk might be your reputation, for example, or the risk that you're going to go bankrupt. So you have to weigh those different risks. And in doing so, you need to recognize that legality is not black and white. If it were black and white, we wouldn't need lawyers. We wouldn't need a whole legal industry. We wouldn't need to have disputes in court, because if things were codified and clear as to whether something was compliant or not, then this wouldn't be necessary. So specifically, when we're talking about GDPR, for example, there's general guidelines, but there's often no specifics. So for example, how long you can keep people's personal data? Well, as long as necessary. Now, is that 30 days? Is that 60 days? Is that a week? It's not clear. It's not black and white. Another comment here is that cold emails are legal. So despite what a lot of people believe, you can send cold emails. So when you're in the business-to-business space, this is an acceptable thing to do. Now, within that context, like doing anything legal, you need to be compliant. So you can't break the law, but in general, cold emails are not illegal. Follow-up emails are also legal, as long as you're following the law. Another key comment I want to make here is that I don't advise people to spam. So a lot of the cold emails, perhaps the majority of the cold emails out there, are people really just spamming people. And it may not necessarily be buy my product now, 15% off, that kind of spam, but it's, do you have 15 minutes to chat? Would you like to do a demo? These very aggressive spam-like cold emails just don't work. I don't advise that you do it, even if they are perfectly legal. I wouldn't want to receive it, and it's not effective. What we see from the research is that what's more effective from cold emails is asking for interest, seeing if there is value that you can provide, rather than just sort of aggressively pushing a meeting or a sales call. And my last comment here is that emails are publicly available. We're not doing something deceptive by tricking people into giving us their email or pulling it from the dark side of the web. People have this information available on their LinkedIn, for example, so that they can be solicited or contacted for business purposes. So when we use something like scrap.io to scrape emails from LinkedIn, this is not something you just couldn't do manually. There's no trickery here. Lots of people have their emails publicly available because they want people to reach out for them. So for example, you go to a realtor database, you're going to see emails for all sorts of real estate agents. The same goes for architecture associations or any professional associations. You go to any business website where people want more business, they're going to have their emails publicly available. So when we're doing cold emails, it's not some illegal, shady activity that we're doing, particularly when we're not spamming. And I don't advise that you take a spam approach to cold email.